Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky YouTube channel. Welcome back, you guys, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Daily MaM Reading. We're doing the CASO Investigative Reports, Part 42, page 411. Lori did tell us that on one occasion Stephen and Charles had come over to her residence. She stated Stephen had wanted to discuss with Jennifer her probation status. Jennifer did not want to listen to Stephen at one point, was going to get up off the couch and leave. Lori stated Stephen grabbed Jennifer, held her down on the couch, and was yelling at her, and Charles had to step in. Agent Fassbender asked Lori what she meant by step in, to which she stated Charles had to basically pull Stephen off of Jennifer. According to Lori, this would have happened sometime last year at her house. Lori did tell us that on one occasion, Jennifer had come home from Stephen's house and had hickeys on her neck. Lori questioned Jennifer as to what they were, at which time Jennifer stated her dad had done this to her because he thinks it is funny. Lori states she did not question Jennifer any more on it for fear of what she might hear. Agent Fassbender said Lori asked Lori if Jean Rohr used to live with them. Lori states Jean in fact did live with them around 1983 or 1984. Jean would help with the kids because she, meaning Lori, was pregnant. Lori states Stephen was a good friend of the Webbers, who Jean was before she had gotten married. She did state Jean did not like Stephen or how Stephen handled the kids. Lori stated Jean was somewhat scared of Stephen because you never knew what would set the man off, meaning Stephen. According to Lori, Jean had never confided in her or said anything about what Stephen had done to her. We questioned Lori about her knowledge of Stephen being arrested for the sexual assault for which he was eventually exonerated. Lori stated she was aware that Stephen did not do the rape. Lori did state to us, however, that Penny Bernstein saved her life. She believes if Stephen had not gone to prison, she would be dead. We asked Lori about what Stephen had said about the prior offense when he had forced the police officer's daughter off the road. According to Lori, Stephen was pissed off at the woman because she had been starting rumors about him standing in front of his house naked. Lori stated she believes now Stephen must have been watching this woman as she had driven by. Stephen did eventually admit to forcing the lady off the road after he was arrested. We asked Lori if she knew what the pictures or the letters would be about that are in the sealed file at the Manitowoc County Courthouse reference her divorce. Lori states she is not sure, however she did send him several pictures of herself in the nude while doing different types of things. Stephen even took some of those pictures and sent them to her parents. She states other than that she does not know what those pictures would be about. At that time, we thanked Lori for her cooperation and ended the interview at 17:30 hours. Investigation continues. Page 412. Investigator Mark Weger, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 413. Type of activity, transcript of Teresa Halbach's personal journal. Date of activity 02-10-06. Reporting officer, Investigator Mark Weger. On 02-10-06 at approximately 11:30 a.m., I, Investigator Weger, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, received evidence tag number 7824, which contained Teresa Halbach's personal journal. The journal was turned over to me by evidence custodian Jeremy Hawkins. I did copy all the pages of the journal, which will be included in this report. These pages will be copied and sent to the District Attorney's Office for his review. The personal journal was then resealed, labeled, and turned back over to the evidence custodian for safekeeping. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Weger, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 414. Type of activity, interview of Jeff B. Wozniak, male white. Date of activity 02-07-06. Reporting officer, Investigator Gary Steyer. On 02-07-06 at approximately 9:50 a.m., Investigator Gary Steyer and Investigator Mark Weger of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department did interview Jeff B. Wozniak, male white, date of birth 0805 68. At his residence of 956 MacArthur, Manitowoc County, Wisconsin. Investigator Steyer was following up on an information tip from Kimberly Havel, who stated a Jeff Wozniak, who they had not heard from in 2 years, had stopped by on Sunday, 11/13/05. She had stated Wozniak was rather agitated and went on about Steven Avery. He also mentioned Bill Wilhelm and Ron Wright as being involved. Jeff Wozniak stated that in 1995, he was hit in the head and suffered a severe head injury from Bill Wilhelm. Wozniak indicated he is extremely afraid of Bill Wilhelm and was worried Wilhelm may have involved or set Jeff Wozniak up in the Teresa Halbach murder investigation. Wozniak indicated approximately 4 years ago he was at the Avery salvage yard, although he states he had never met Steven Avery personally. The reason Jeff Wozniak was concerned is that his fingerprints might have been located at Avery's auto salvage, as Wilhelm had Jeff Wozniak write the word Steve on a piece of masking tape approximately 2 years ago for a set of car keys for Steven Avery. Wozniak indicated he believed this tape was the name Steve written on it was the same tape that investigators had found on the gun under the trailer of Steve Avery's house. Wozniak also indicated he believed Wilhelm to have taken a Budweiser beer can, which Wozniak had touched, and theorized that Wilhelm may have placed this Budweiser beer can at the Steven Avery residence or Avery's auto salvage. Wozniak indicated he sits around all day and speculates as to what happened and cannot believe Steven Avery would do something like this after sitting 18 years in jail. Wozniak believes he had seen news reports the police had removed beer cans from the Avery's residence, as well as seen a news report about the masking tape with the word Steve written on it, on a gun, which was also removed by the police officers. Wozniak was very emotional and stated he was afraid the neighbors across the street were watching him. Wozniak also questioned investigators whether they had pulled in front with a page 415 marked squad car. Wozniak indicated he is very afraid of Bill Wilhelm ever since being hit in the head by Wilhelm. Wozniak indicated he never reported the incident to the police. Wozniak stated he has not seen Wilhelm in over 2 years. Wozniak believed Wilhelm had sent, as Wozniak described, 2 chicks dressed as nuns to pick up his wife at his residence. Investigator Steyer asked Wozniak if he had ever seen a doctor for any medication to help Wozniak. Investigator Steyer asked this of Wozniak when Wozniak began to break down and cry, indicating he was so very afraid of Bill Wilhelm. Wozniak indicated he has never seen a doctor to take any medication and does not believe in taking medication. Investigators concluded the interview at approximately 10:05 a.m. and left Jeff Wozniak at his residence. Investigator Gary Steyer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 416. Type of activity, receipt and execution of subpoena for documents to the Kohl's department store. Date of activity 02/01/06. Reporting Officer Investigator Mark Weger. On 02/01/06, I, Investigator Mark Weger of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, did apply for a subpoena for documents to the Kohl's department store. It should be noted that the subpoena was granted to me on 01/01/06 and was subsequently signed by the Honorable Calumet County Circuit Court Judge Donald Poppy on 02/03/06. On 02/06/06, I did fax said subpoena to the fax number of 262-703-6356, which would be the Kohl's Department Store Corporate Headquarters, located in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. On 02/09/06, I did receive through the U.S. mail a return on the subpoena, which I had faxed to Kohl's Department Store. The records which I have received were for the previous 24 months of transactions made by Teresa M. Halbach on her Kohl's credit card. It should be noted I did not locate any of the Dassey Fuentes jeans on any of her credit card transactions. I did contact Nicole Larid at the number of 1-888-343-1560. Nicole would be the credit card fraud investigator for Kohl's department stores. I thanked Nicole for her prompt response on the subpoena which I had sent her. I asked Nicole if it would be possible for us to go back further into Teresa's credit card statements. Nicole stated it would be possible, however, she did not believe that going back any further in her credit card statements would produce any records indicating that Teresa had bought Dassey Fuentes jeans. Nicole states that Kohl's had just begun exclusively selling the Dassey Fuentes brand approximately 1 to 1.5 years ago. Nicole stated to me that if, in fact, Teresa had purchased them, she most likely used a different credit card, checking account, or cash. That was the end of my conversation with Nicole. Investigation continues. Mark Wiegert, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 417. Type of activity, examination of evidence. Date of activity, 02-10-06, reporting officer, investigator Mark Wiegert. On 02-10-06, I, investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Deputy Hawkins of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, retrieved and identified the following items from the secure evidence room. Tag number 8120 was identified as a rivet which had the writing Dassey Fuentes on it. Tag number 8119 was also a rivet with the writing Dassey Fuentes on it. Tag number 8124 was also a rivet with the writing Dassey Fuentes on it. Tag 8121 was an unknown type of rivet. Tag 8122 was an unknown rivet. Tag number 8138 was a zipper with the letters YK on the front and YKK and the number 45 on back. Tag number 8125 was an unknown piece of metal. Tag number 8154 was an approximately 3-inch long burned material, which resembled a cell phone antenna. Tag number 8149 contained one rivet with writing Dassey Fuentes on it, one rivet with no distinguishable writing on it, and 8 eyelets which appeared to be from some type of footwear. Tag number 8143 contained one metal eyelet, possibly from footwear. After examining said items, the items were repackaged and again secured back in the Calumet County evidence room. Investigation continues. Mark Wiegert, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 418. Type of activity, received report from Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Date of activity, 02-13-06, reporting officer, investigator, Mark Wiegert. On 02-13-06, I, investigator Mark Wiegert, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, received a fax copy of a firearms trace done by the U.S. Department of Justice, ATF. I had requested a trace on the Marlin .22 caliber rifle, which had been found at the Steven Avery residence. The ATF information will be included with this report. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 419. Type of activity, re-interview of Jodi Stachowski. Date of activity, 02-15-06. Reporting officer, investigator Mark Wiegert. On 02-15-06, I, investigator Wiegert, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with investigator Wendy Baldwin, went to the Manitowoc County Jail to interview Jodi Stachowski. We met with Jodi in an interview room on the second floor of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. I asked Jodi to tell me again what Steven Avery had told her in reference to his sexual contact with blank. Jodi stated she had already told us everything and reiterated that it happened twice that she was told, up north and at Barbara's house. Jodi states that Steven told her when he and blank were up north, he had sex with blank and blank's mother. Blank had almost walked in on them. Jodi could not be any more specific as to where up north. However, she believes it would have been at their property, meaning the Avery property in Marinette County. Jodi states Steven had told her this because they had been having a fight and he said it out of anger. I asked Jodi how Steven had put it to her, and Jodi stated Steven just said he bleeped her. Jodi also stated that Steven had told her that he had sex with blank at Barbara's house on one occasion. According to Jodi, she has never spoken to blank about the sexual contact. Jodi did state that Steven had told her that blank had initiated the sexual contact. At that point, we thanked Jodi for her cooperation. The interview was ended and Jodi was taken back to the Manitowoc County Jail. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Weger, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 420. Type of activity, interview of Karen Halbach. Date of activity, 02-1805 at 13:30 hours. Reporting officer, investigator Mark Weger. On 02-1805 at 13:30 hours, I, investigator Weger, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with investigator Dietering, did go to the Halbach residence on County Highway B to meet with Teresa's mother, Karen. Upon arrival, we were invited into the residence. I asked Karen if she had any other deceased children. Karen stated, other than Teresa, she does not have any other deceased children. Karen also told us that her mother, Dorothy Stachowski, is still alive. However, she is in poor health. Karen also stated she does not have any nieces that are deceased. She only has one aunt who would be deceased, who is buried in Schofield, Wisconsin. Karen turned over pictures of Teresa and her family and friends for this investigation. That was the end of our conversation with Karen. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Weger, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Are you serious? All right, you guys, let's go ahead and start a review on page 411. So we start off with Jennifer not wanting to listen to Steven. This is his daughter. And with her on probation, I can't blame Steven for getting upset with her. She's not listening. She's getting into trouble. And if you've been Steven and you've been in and out of jail, you're going to want better for your children. So I can't really say that making her sit and listen to him, even if he's yelling, is really a bad thing. And besides, we're talking about Lori here. This is Steven's ex-wife, and you know how I feel about exes. They say things that basically it's a conflict of interest. So Lori talks about Jennifer having hickeys on her neck, and Lori questioning Jennifer. Jennifer saying that her dad had done it, so Steve would have done it because he thinks it's funny. I would more worry that the girl was out flirting around when she's at her dad's, maybe hanging out with boys, and using this as a cover-up because Lori thinks this way about her dad. Otherwise, why didn't Lori not follow up with that and immediately figure out what was going on with her daughter? Something wasn't right there. And then we find out that Jean Rohr, remember Jean Rohr? She was the one that said that Steve was drunk and Lori was drunk. Lori went upstairs. Jean was staying there, taking care of the little kids, and that Steven had mistaken her for his wife. And come to find out, she's a Weber. So Tammy Weber, the one that seems to always be involved in nosy and such, is related to Jean. And then I think it's weird the way the officer puts this. So we asked Lori about what Steven had said about the prior offense when he had forced the police officer's daughter off the road. I thought that she was the cousin to Steven and was married to a cop, William Morris. Is he just wording this wrongly? Is she also a daughter of a cop? He says police officer's daughter. And then we go on to talk about some pictures or letters that are sealed in the Manitowoc County Courthouse referencing her divorce. I'm not sure which things were sealed, but I do know that Lori wrote some god-awful letters back to Steven, and they had word wars amongst themselves that were just horrible toward each other. And then she left Steven and married her brother-in-law. So, then we're on page 413. We're talking about Teresa Halbach's personal journal. Yes, Teresa kept a journal, and we don't get to read it. So that would be wonderful to be able to dig a little bit deeper in the victimology to understand more about the case. On page 414, we have Jeff Wozniak, and this is in February of 2006. And he's talking about this Wilhelm that has damaged him by attacking him, and he suffered a severe head injury. Well, come to find out, he's very worried that his fingerprints are going to appear at Avery's auto salvage because when he was there, he wrote on a piece of tape with the name Steve, and this was on the same tape that the investigators had found on a gun that was under the trailer of Steven Avery's house. Now, I don't remember hearing about a gun under Steven Avery's house. He goes on to say he's worried about a beer can there and that he feels like he's being set up for the Teresa Halbach murder, perhaps. Okay, interesting. Now, what I did find interesting is on page 417, if you look at this, you have all these items which are rivets for clothing and unknown types of rivets they suspect for clothing, a zipper, as well as something that resembles a cell phone antenna, as well as little eyelets which appear from footwear. Now, I suspect, because this is all the debris that was laying on the tarp, okay, the little brown tarp or whatever, this seems like it came from barrel number 4, number 7102. Remember, barrel 645 disappears out of the list, so we had 642, 643, 644, and 645 to start with. But as soon as 645 just kind of up and disappears, we have 7102. So it almost looks like they made the switch, and that one, 645, was the one that had the number 4 written on it. So they're implying that that is number 4 barrel. However, these pieces look like they did come from deer camp, if we remember right. Also, just to make a note, on 418, the ATF did include a report regarding the Marlin 22 caliber rifle. And then to wrap it up here, we have the interview with Jodi. So Jodi's just reconfirming that Marie Avery had been with Steven twice that she knew of, once in Crivets, as well as once at Barbara's. But remember, it's interesting that Marie doesn't bring up the other time, which was in Crivets. And here it's stating that Jodi is referring to the mother of Marie, which would be Candy, had almost walked in on them. Well, if she had, I'm sure that she could have yelled for help. So, let's see. Well, and Steven told Jodi that Marie had initiated the sexual contact. Well, that's not here nor there. I just don't understand that if it really took place, why the parents wouldn't have pressed charges. She's just a minor at the time, and unless the parents give consent, statutory rape file could have been done, and charges could have been put against him. Now, on page 420, the type of activity is interview of Karen Halbach, and we're talking about February of 05, according to the paperwork, but yes, it's a typo. It's 06, and it falls right in line with after the FBI does the testing, the mitochondrial DNA testing, and they cannot rule Teresa Halbach out. They do state that it does seem to match the mother. And so I think what they're doing here in asking Karen if she has any other dead or deceased children is basically clearing up that it couldn't be another deceased child that the bones were from, because Karen only had one child that was deceased. Couldn't have been her mother because or Teresa's grandmother, because she's still alive. And then Karen states that she doesn't have any dead nieces, and as well as she only has one aunt who would be deceased, and that woman is buried in Schofield, Wisconsin. So that's what we have so far for this week, and I hope you'll join me for tomorrow for our next daily read. Okay, you guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And you just never know what's going to happen when you're reading the CASO Investigative Reports. That was part 42, and we have quite a ways to go. And there are days when I have to ask myself, is somebody making this up? Because this story, it's worse than any soap opera I have ever watched for cliffhangers and victims and people that are predatory-like. It's just unreal. Thank you, of course, for your support and us trying to sort this out. And it's time, you guys. If you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. And a lot of people have wondered what the Daisy Fuentes buttons look like, so I left this one for you to kind of research. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you tomorrow.